My name's Steve and I love people who make things. We're a nation of inventive, inspiring makers.
This room alone will produce 100,000 items a year. But yeah, it used to be full of cows.
And then I'd be, Afghanistan or Iraq, sat in my room just sketching out designs, waiting to come home to play around with them.
I'm on a mission to list the greatest products we make, because if we don't champion the skills on our doorstep, we risk losing them.
And running down to our left, we have hand cutting. The problem is getting labour now.
One of the biggest challenges we have here is our ageing workforce.
Join me as we hear stories from behind the factory doors.
I remember drawing my dad's house and he said, "Why don't you count the bricks?"
Oh, he wanted you to be quiet, didn't he? Do you ever have any sleepless nights, Alex?
I don't sleep.
Together, let's make more makers. Welcome to the factory next door and welcome to an industrial estate in East London. On the horizon you get a glimpse of Canary Wharf. I can just kind of see its gleaming glass towers there. But here, very, very different kind of bricks, mortar, light industrial units. We are here to meet a husband and wife team who run a clothing company, making linen jackets, shirts, trousers. What's particularly interesting is that every element of every garment, and I'm talking about every button, every thread, every label, is made in the British Isles. We're going to chat to them about that. We're also going to take a look around the factory here, which they use to produce some of their clothing. So super excited about the chat and the tour. Whilst I head in and say hello, have a listen to what's coming up on today's show.
We wanted to champion manufacturing.
We opened the boxes and sort of like Chinese text everywhere, and it's like, what did you not understand?
You do get used to people saying no to you.
Everyone used to take me in the factory and just show me around. So I think maybe that's why I love factories so much.
It's been a roller coaster, let's put it that way.
Oh, I've never been asked that question before.
Sorry.
There haven't been more than a handful to date.
I thought you were going to say today. more than just a handful today. More steps. And my bag seems to get heavier every week. Oh wow, through this door I see a lot of sewing machines and rolls of fabric. Happy Tuesday, how you doing? I should have brought my dog along.
Yeah, he's safe there. How can I help you?
So I am meeting Debbie and Paul from Missing here.
I'm Debbie Missing, and I'm from Missing.
I'm Paul Missing, and I'm from Missing.
Why is the company called Missing?
Bizarrely, it's our surname.
So at Missing you make these beautiful linen kind of clothing, so kind of jackets, trousers. It's quite utilitarian workwear style, chore jackets and things like that. And you set out with this idea that every element, every piece will be made in the British Isles. So obviously that includes Britain and Ireland. Why did you want to do that? Why did you want to ensure that every piece came from the British Isles?
We wanted to champion manufacturing. All the little artisan businesses that are still going in the UK, the button makers, the printers, the label makers. And it was actually much harder than we'd anticipated. It's very, very difficult. But we got there in the end, and it took a good 18 months of sourcing.
So we're just met up. This is called Apparel Tasker, and this is the factory that you are using to make some of your clothing. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And Alex is going to give me a little bit of a tour. But first off, give me an idea of actually how you came to use Apparel Tasker, because they're quite an interesting company.
They are an interesting company.
They're incredibly serious about their sustainability, and obviously being based in this part of London. It's very close to where we live. It's absolutely perfect. And also there's a very rich history of garment production from this area. So yeah, everything was in alignment.
Peanuts.
Hello, Peanut.
He just barks at people to get them to come, give him cuddles and love, and then that's it, no more barking. So I'm Alex. I'm the operations director. Basically, I run the factory from development to production to the moment it leaves the factory.
Okay, and we walk into presumably the main section, is this, of the factory?
So
Tell me what we're looking at.
So everything is just on one floor, the factory. We just walked past Polentina, that is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. But from Wednesday to Saturday is a really lovely Italian restaurant. It's really, really nice.
Okay, let me just clarify for the listeners. In the corner of the factory, surrounded by glass, there is an Italian restaurant.
Yep. It's Polentina, it's in the Michelin Guide. Sophia is a really, really, really good chef. The way she cooks, she incorporates Italian and Austrian ingredients and foods and recipes. So it's really good food, very interesting. So I do recommend to come back and have a little food.
I don't want us to get totally distracted here, but I can't remember the last time I went to a factory and there was a Michelin recommended restaurant in the corner of the factory. How did that happen?
So she actually started during COVID. I feel like every single story starts during COVID. And she started with Deliveroo. And then during COVID, we moved from a smaller building to this one. And then this was a canteen, and it started with making food for the staff. She still does that, still a canteen. But now she serves people on the outside as well, and she's now become fancier. Yeah.
And I've turned up on the day when it's closed.
Yeah, I know.
I'm off. Let's rearrange for another day.
Yeah, that's fine. This was an old Burberry factory. So we kept the machines, we kept some of the people, but most of them retired because they were quite old. All our brands that we work with, they're not really seasonal. Because when you do sustainable clothing, you try to not do seasonal clothing, so then you can sell it all through the year.
So how did you get to a point where, as a business, you're like, we're going to focus on creating garments that are not seasonal, that are sustainable?
So that is all Zach. I'm not going to take the credit for that. So Zach started the business, I think 10 years ago, and he basically just saw a gap in the market. He studied at the Marconi Institute in Paris. He wanted to be a designer, actually, but then he couldn't find a job. So then he started making samples for different brands, and he saw a gap in the market for sustainable manufacturing. Moved to London, started with one sewing machinist, and then added another one and another one. And then 6 years ago, I've joined him, and then we've been growing ever since.
I mean, you've got a lot more than 2 machinists now, haven't you? Yeah. Looking out over here.
You would think that with the 60 plus clients, yeah, you would need more than 2.
I had the idea, and because I felt that there wasn't really, menswear wasn't being catered for where women's wear was, in sort of elevated loungewear, if you like. And I kept on asking Paul for his views on things, whatever. And then Paul, he wanted to be part of it as well.
Yeah, it wasn't like a decade ago that we thought, we're going to work together. And I've been very happily married for a long time. To actually throw this into the mix is a bit foolhardy. And we've, it's been a roller coaster. Let's put it that way.
His conversations at the dinner table dominated by missing?
No.
It depends what's going on, to be quite honest.
Yeah, if we're in production, then yes.
Yeah. Or actually, things just can go. I think what happens is you're constantly aware, you're constantly looking at what people are wearing if you're sitting down and maybe watching TV or something. And so subliminally, you are taking all of this on board, and, you know, and we go to back and forward on it a bit, don't we?
I think possibly we are less aware of it. It's just so much part of our lives that it's an interesting question, because when our initial answer was no, we don't think about it, but now, as Debbie said, that we do. We talk about stuff and we see something on the TV, see somebody out, so it's like omnipresent. So but we try not to go too much. There's other things in our lives as well, so which is good.
We drag our children into it as well.
Yeah, kicking and screaming.
What do you think of this? Do you like this? What do you think of this colour? Why don't you like that colour? We like this colour.
So we specialize in stretchwear, so that is swimwear, athleisure, lingerie. Then our other part of our business is tailoring, resort wear, linen, silk dresses, pajamas.
Is it all very high value?
Yes, in order to manufacture in UK, saying that actually, if you compare to Portugal and Europe, the price difference is not that high. So people do decide not to manufacture in UK because of that, but they don't really start doing the research. They immediately think, okay, well, making London is going to be ridiculous anyway. There's no point trying. But we've actually did a study with one of our clients. It was like a over-shirt jacket, a bit complicated. He got prices from Portugal, I think Romania, Italy, and then China. And we were about like maybe 2% difference with Europe, and then less than 7% with China, which is absolutely ridiculous, because you would think it's in China they make with like £3. But prices increased everywhere. So that is the cutting machine in the background. It's okay, go on.
Just coming back to the point you make there about the cost, that's really interesting. So on a completely different kind of industry and area, we were speaking to Josef, who does engineering and metal components, very sophisticated metal components in Wales. And he was saying, we've got a perception problem in the UK, where the assumption immediately is, if you want to do something at price X, you have to go overseas. And it's interesting, you're saying exactly the same thing. There's an assumption that if you want to create something for price X, you've got to go overseas.
Yeah, because when you think of UK, I guess you think of this very expensive country with loads of job opportunities. Inflation is quite high, so prices are up. So everyone is thinking, okay, well, if a bread is like £3, then making a t-shirt is going to cost like £100, so it's not really viable. But they don't actually do the research about it, because it's not actually that bad. It makes sense. Obviously, it will be more expensive slightly because of the salary, so we do have to pay all the workers over the living wage. Otherwise, what are we doing here? But all in all, when you think about manufacturing in UK, where you can see your product being made, you can see the fabric, you can touch it, you can see the people working on your product, it's different.
Debbie and Paul must really value that. They must really appreciate being able to come along and just kind of chat to you face to face about their project, the pieces of, kind of the clothing that they're wanting to create, the designs they're wanting to make a reality.
Yeah, so they've always manufactured in London. They were with a different factory, then they came to us, and they do love the fact that they can just get in the car, come to Bromley by Bow, see their garment being made, see the people that are making their garment, see the environment, because that is important as well. They don't really want to make clothes where everyone is unhappy and miserable and looks sad, and there's no lights and there's like cockroaches on the front. a bit dramatic there.
Bit dramatic, but we definitely don't have. We've got light. There's no cockroaches, and
And there's an Italian restaurant in the background.
there's an Italian restaurant just behind us, and I see smiles. There's no tears of people at the machines.
Probably annoyed now because there's no music, but hey ho.
Yeah, they're slightly annoyed because I asked the music to be turned off. Hi, if you're enjoying the show and want to support our makers and manufacturers, please hit the subscribe or follow button. If you're listening on Apple, hit the stars and rate the show. Takes a small moment but makes a big difference. Thanks. Right, back to the chat. Often I'll be interviewing someone and even without prompting, they will reflect on how important their partner has been in kind of helping them achieve their goals in terms of sounding boards, just being that supporter, but obviously there's a huge benefit in them being one step away from it, that distance. But I guess you don't have that because you're both in the thick of it, but maybe your kids do that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, to be frank, there are occasions when Paul thinks he's right about something and I feel that I'm obviously right about something, and it's a bit of a Mexican standoff. So, yeah, our children are very valuable in that sense.
Okay. Now, I don't want to prompt a Mexican standoff in Bromley by Bow right now, but in those kind of situations, how does the Mexican standoff get resolved?
Yoga breathing.
The whiskey comes out.
No, seriously. No, I think you have to take off your personal head, that makes sense, and then think about who you're trying to appeal to. And I think a lot of these kind of Mexican standoffs, and there aren't that many, to be honest. There haven't been more than a handful to date. But
I thought you were going to say today. more than just a handful today.
There's only been several. Okay. There's only been several this morning, Steve. That's a good day. That's a good day. Now, I think it's really important to sort of, as Steve said, sometimes just to step back or just to leave it. Let it sit for a day, and then come with a fresh pair of eyes, sort of the next day, or just take yourself away for a bit, because when you are working. And you are working together and your sole focus is on, let's say, a new jacket shape or on new colours, and you can go just a little bit sort of like blind, and you need to sort of refresh yourself.
How many garments are you producing every year?
In a week, maybe like about 1,000, 1,500. It depends of what we have on the tables as well. If it's mostly swim, or if it's swim and resort wear, or if they're like really difficult jackets, or going to be a bit less.
Out of all the different types of garments you make here, are you able to identify one that you're particularly proud of?
Wow, I've never been asked that question before.
Sorry.
Making it difficult.
It's like asking a favourite child.
Yeah, I know. I can tell you that I probably like swimwear more because it's just easier to organize and faster to make from that sense, or from a business perspective. But then I do like doing resort wear because it's really nice seeing like really beautiful dresses or like silk shirts coming out from one roll of fabric, and like seeing these like really amazing designs. It is really difficult to answer that question.
Does the resort wear though, does that not make you want to go on holiday all the time?
Not really, no. I do really enjoy my job, so I don't I like being here.
What's your favourite part of your job?
That is so different. We could go one day from making, I don't know, a development for a singer or a designer for their fashion show, and the next day, I don't know, 500 leotards for like the Royal Dance Academy. It's very, very different, and I like that. It's not boring. And it's just amazing to see. I feel like I keep saying that. I'm gonna get bored with me now. To see how everything is just being made, like the step by step. I like that.
You do get used to people saying no to you a lot. Just for example, when we found the button provider, we wanted to, for our branding, it's very discreet, but on all of the jackets, there's a 6-hole button, and it's stitched in a way that it has an M to show that it's missing. So it's a discreet form of branding. And when I met with the button factory, I said, this is what I wanted to do. We use trucker shell buttons because they're made from waste product. And he was like, oh, you can't do that. There's no way you'll do that. Well, we did have a machine for that, but it's been retired for 32 years. So I was like, do you think we could bring it out of retirement? And he was like, oh, I'm not sure about that. So
we saved that poor machine. We saved it.
So there was sort of a lot of that.
Well, also as well, the labels, do you remember, in sort of at the end of lockdown, we'd gone through the whole process with the company and been very clear of what the brand was about. Everything was designed, and then we'd seen the sample, we'd signed off on that. And then during lockdown, there was a delay, and it got shipped.
Because COVID had hit China.
And you're like, why is a problem in China affecting a production of all British
It got
Isles
shipped. It
garments?
shipped direct to us, as opposed to going to the company and then to us. And thank goodness it did, because at this point in time, we opened the boxes and sort of like Chinese text everywhere, and it's like, what did you not understand?
Hang on, so all the labels came from China?
Yeah. They'd been manufactured in China and printed in China. So we sent the whole lot back and we said, we're not working with you. What didn't you understand about? But it just sort of, it made us sort of more determined, and to do an enormous amount of due diligence all the way through, because otherwise you will get caught out.
We say it all the time on the show, and I don't want to
Well, you can say, 'cause I
be
haven't-
boring about it, but there is just something magical about looking out across a group of people who are working away, creating something physical, something that you can actually see coming together in front of your eyes. There is something magical about it.
It's amazing. So my dad was a lorry driver for all my childhood, so I used to travel with him a lot. So because I was young, everyone used to take me in the factory and just show me around. So I think maybe that's why I love factories so much. It is amazing seeing a piece of furniture being made, clothing, like ceramics. I think I've seen like everything, and it's so good. Seeing all the different machineries, the people, the talent that someone has.
They are very special places. Now, looking back, you've created these beautiful garments, and all of the elements come from the British Isles, including the labels. Do you now look back, and are you surprised that you could achieve that?
I don't think we're surprised that we can do it. I suppose we're disappointed, isn't not the right word, but it's a shame. It's a shame that it is difficult to find these people, because in a country that is famed around the world for its creativity and productivity, to have so few people providing this, I think is a great shame, and something that we should look to readdress.
When you say we look to readdress, I'm not trying to pick you up on this, but
But you are.
but I'm going to pick you up on this. What are you talking about? Are you talking about action by governments? Are you talking about action by consumers?
I think definitely by successive governments have allowed the manufacturing industry just to sort of wilt in certain areas, but the consumer has just become too comfortable with the amount of cheap imports coming in, which artificially lowered the price of many garments that you see, and there's got to be more respect given to the people that sort of work behind the scenes in this industry. People will know the big name designers. They're not the guys that sort of manufacture. Most jobs, let's say in the UK, so like a painter, a decorator, or and these guys are commanding £200 a day. Then why is it that somebody that machines your garment that you may pay £500 for, why should they be working for £50 a day?
So I don't know if you've heard the Fisherman's Smock episode, but Sophie from Yarmouth Oilskins picked up on something similar to that, saying, why aren't we recognising and appreciating and valuing the skill of someone who can sit and kind of create, kind of dozens of trousers?
I think that's
just rattling through these amazing, beautiful trousers, being able to create them.
That's sort of going back to your previous question of, what can the government do, or do we have any ideas? And I think they've got to make this a desirable field of employment again.
Well, it starts with education, though, doesn't it?
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's no longer any kind of...
This is seen as sort of like something, no, I don't want to work in manufacturing as a machinist or...
Factory became still has very negative connotations.
Absolutely.
And 100 years ago, sure, it probably deserved its very negative connotation. Yeah. But these days, I don't know if it did. I mean, when I was picking the name for this show, I very actively wanted the word factory in there because I wanted to change perceptions. I wanted to take it back. Factories are amazing places, and the people working in them are very skilled magicians.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in London alone, there's 210,000 people employed. That's just in London, in the garment manufacturing industry. That's a huge amount of people.
What does success look like for you then?
Happy suppliers, happy workforce, and us selling the limited amount of garments that we've manufactured. That would be my take on success.
I think for me, success is having pride in what you do. And I also really like the people we work with, the factories, the button manufacturer, the print people, everyone. We know all of their names. That's important to me. Been in the business for a long time, I suppose, but there's nothing like the thrill of, when we saw the garments on the rail in Selfridges, you see someone that looks amazing in it. We saw someone on television wearing it, didn't we? And it was just like, wow,
When you see that, it does.
That's success,
there's
I guess.
An immense pride to that, an immense pride.
I'm pleased that you say you are proud of yourselves. Amazing work you're doing. Thank you so much for chatting to me, Paul and Debbie.
Steve.
Okay, number 18 on our list of the greatest things we make in Britain. Missing's linen jacket goes into our shed of greatness. Thanks again to Debbie and Paul for such a fascinating chat, and to Alex from Apparel Tasker for showing me around their fantastic factory in East London. Obviously, I'm still slightly disappointed about missing out on that Italian-Austrian mashup. And my thanks to you for listening. As always, hugely appreciated. Massive thanks to those who have recently starred or rated the show on places like Apple and Spotify. It really does mean a huge amount to me personally and to what we're trying to achieve with this podcast. Right, I'm a little bit behind. I'm a little bit behind schedule this week, if I'm honest. So I will quickly run inside and start doing the illustration for today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any comments, any thoughts, please do drop me a line. Obviously, you can look me up on Instagram at The Factory Next Door. I say this at the end of every show, but I really do mean it. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, I hope you are happy. Until next time, bye.